Hi, Hugh Taylor here, and today we're going to talk about what happens in the day in the life of a public relations executive. And this presentation is based on my experience doing public relations at Microsoft for a multi-billion dollar product there, as well as doing PR in Silicon Valley. So let me share with you what a public relations person does on a daily basis, in addition to being fabulous and having great coffee and being witty and incredibly great. So let's talk about what happens on a day-to-day basis. So the first thing you do when you come into the office or your home office in public relations is you check the news. Now, maybe you have a Google News search set up so that you can check to see if there's anything happening in your industry or in the world that you can comment on. There's a great opportunity usually if there's an event that's relevant to your business, you can issue a comment, you can get it out to reporters, and they can feature it in their news coverage. Also, you want to look for news that could affect your company's reputation. For example, if you're a bank and there's a big change in Federal Reserve interest rates, that can affect your reputation. You want to know what your company will think and say about that in case anybody asks, or if you want to offer a comment on that. On another front, you want to see what your competitors are doing. This is very important, partly because you could get an email or a phone call from the CEO of your company saying, hey, I just found out that our competitor has made this announcement. What are we going to say or do about it? And you should be prepared for that. You should know what's going on. Don't be like, oh, gee, I haven't checked the news yet. I don't know what I'm going to say. That's not a good look for a public relations person. Executives are looking to you, first of all, to be aware of what's going on, but also to know how the company should react if it's going to react, because sometimes the best reaction is to say nothing. Then you want to check your news. This might be through a service like Muckrack or another press monitoring solution where you are given a report or a feed of stories that mention your company's name. This may be more relevant to bigger companies, but it is important to know if you're being discussed in the news. And it's a good way to check to see if any of your public relations projects have borne fruit and resulted in media coverage. And sometimes you don't know. You don't always get notified by a reporter if he or she writes about you. Sometimes they just post their story and they assume you see it. So you have to be aware of it. And this is for good and bad. So if there are any negative stories, you need to deal with them. So for example, let's say that there's an article that features your company and it has something negative to say. Well, it's interesting. You may not realize this, but it is possible to sort of renegotiate what's been said about your company in a news story. It's not easy to do. And it often requires an experienced public relations person who knows, an agency that knows how to sort of negotiate with the press. You can reverse or modify negative coverage, or you may have to make some kind of statement to clarify what this reporter has said. And you see this often in the news, that a company is reported as having some kind of, problem, and they'll issue a statement saying, this reporting is based on information we don't agree with or whatever. There's a way to handle it. On the other hand, maybe there's something really great. Are there any clippings, so to speak? I'm old-fashioned. I come from the old world of PR, so I have a printing press, a newspaper press on the slide here, saying, is there anything good that you can brag about? Because certainly if there's positive press coverage, you want to share the good news with everybody in the company, share it with the sales team, share it with the marketing team, share it with the executive team. The next thing you want to do is move your projects forward. If you're doing your public relations work the right way, you will have various projects in the works. You'll be writing press releases. You'll be preparing pitches and seeking opportunities for media exposure. Those usually involve working with other people or teams in the company. For example, if you're announcing a new product, you're going to be interacting with the product team. So you want to keep those moving forward. If it's March 1st and April 1st is the announcement, you have to make sure everybody's doing what they've said they're going to do, giving you quotes or information or approving press release drafts. You have to just move all those balls down the field, so to speak. You want to update your press kit if it needs updating. Now, this may not be every day, but maybe every month or two you want to make sure that it's got the right materials in it, make sure it's up to date. You don't want reporters going to your online press kit and finding stuff from 1982 still on the drive. You have to also keep your plan up to date. If you're doing your job right, you have some kind of public relations plan for the year or the quarter, and that may have what we call a PR calendar, like what's your calendar of announcements, when are you planning to announce various things, are there corporate initiatives that you're going to be aligned with, what's the status of the projects on your plan. This might involve checking in with corporate planning. Just, for example, let's say that the company is planning to make an acquisition this summer. So, in July, you're going to acquire, X corporation. You're going to announce that. Well, maybe check in. Is that still on for July? Is it turned into August? Maybe the deal is off. What's going on? You want to make sure your plan is up to date. And similarly, you want to make sure you're aligned with marketing initiatives. Is there a marketing campaign that's coming out that you need to be supporting in the public relations process, or has the company changed its message? This is an interesting thing that can come up, because the media outreach process should align with your messaging. If your company's message is we're the low cost leader, then your press releases should make sense in that context. Your press releases shouldn't be about how we charge more but we're worth it. That's an out of alignment message. Another part of your day as a public relations person is to what I call nurture your long shots. You should have some really big, hairy, enormous goal. Maybe it's to be on the cover of Fortune magazine, whatever, something big. And if you don't have a PR goal like that, get one. It doesn't mean you're going to achieve it, but you want to reach. You should have a reach goal in PR. What's your big goal? Maybe it's to be featured in a publication that covers your industry with a positive story. So you want to nurture those. These can take time to realize. It might take nurturing relationships with reporters. It might take positioning key players in your organization as spokespeople and expert sources. Over time, building relationships with reporters, and then those bear fruit and you can be covered in that big positive way that you want to be. Then this may not be a daily activity, but I would say it should be a regular activity, is look at your crisis plan. Because unfortunately, as we know, things can go wrong. And I'll just give you one example. Chances are, in the coming year, your company is going to have some kind of cybersecurity event. It might be small, it might be large, but something's probably going to happen. Some data is going to get breached. Some email account is going to get hacked, and some private emails of the CEO are going to get published. Something is going to go wrong. And again, when your phone rings and there's a problem and it's the CEO calling saying, what are we going to do? You do not want to be thinking, gee, what should we do? How should we react? Whatever will we do? You need to have a plan. You need to know who to call, and you need to know what you're going to say. And my pro tip for the day is write your talking points for a crisis now. You're going to want them. Now, of course, the specifics are going to change, but chances are, if you think it through carefully, you can probably predict the kind of crisis that you could have. So, for example, let's say your company has a factory. Well, unfortunately, I hope this doesn't happen, but there could be an accident. What are you going to say if there's an accident? What are you going to say if someone gets injured? What are you going to say if there's some sort of, fire or flood or something? You can think through potential crisis situations, and then you can think through how to respond. Now, in some cases, you may want to have an agency on retainer that specializes in this. This is a very specialized area of PR. It's called crisis management. Again, you want to be ready and you want to have some kind of plan. I would say make sure that plan is dusted off and looked at every month. Anyway, these are some of the ideas for what can happen in the day of a life of a public relations professional. We can help you with this. We are Comms Factory. I invite you to visit our website at the link below, commsfactory.net. I hope this has been helpful, and we look forward to working with you.